Hello everyone, welcome to Beaver's Rendezvous. I am Beaver Thomas. Andrew is on a hiatus today, so this video is collaborated with SaintAndrewTV. As you can see that it is also posted to that network as well, as we are both a part of Dog Pound Studios. However, the reason being that he committed the cardinal sin of wearing another man's hat, and he is now facing the repercussions of his actions. So I am going to take over the show today. As you can see that I am more than thrilled to be here. What we are doing is tying in what he has done on his channel with something that predates even the Hawk and Rifle, which was probably a stretch for a Wild West based channel. What we are going to do today is we are going to assemble a Colonial pistol kit by Connecticut Valley Arms. Now, this is something that you would more or less see during the American Revolution than in a saloon in a Wild West town. You would also most likely see this to young greenhorns heading out west to start their fur trapping endeavors. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go back in time, because as you can see, it is assembled. Now, I will state before we get too far into this that this is going to be a rough fit. We are not finishing anything. It is going to be very crude, just like how it came out of the box. We're going to shave some wood off. We are going to just give it a really rough fit. Further down the line, I will take the blunderbuss, the Hawken, and the Colonial pistol kit. We will blue or brown the barrel. We will finish the stock with some clear coat and some stain. And then we will go out and shoot all of them to see which one operates the best, operates the worst, which one I like the best, which one I like the worst. So it's going to be right on par with what you've seen on the blunderbuss and on the Hawk and Rifle over on the other channel, St. Andrew TV. But since it's Beaver's Rendezvous and this is my show today, if you follow me, I'm going to take you through each step of how to assemble your Colonial pistol. Just before we go back in time, I would like to state that this is black powder only. This is a .45 caliber pistol, and this kit is from 1972. I was fortunate enough to stumble across this when I was going out with my wife to an antique store, and this was just sitting on the glass shelves right there, right in front of me. So I got this for a very fair price. And I figured what better way to dabble into the long hunter / mountain man world than a pistol that you could cross the Delaware with. So that's the story of how I got it. It is 54 years old at the time of recording, and you'll notice that some of the mechanisms, especially the hammer, has a lot of issues with it, which might be another video in and of itself to get this thing operational. And if this was a true Colonial pistol, it would probably be a flintlock. But I just thought I'd throw those caveats out there before we get too far into it and go back in time even further. Going back in time to build a pistol that goes back in time. Please enjoy what you're about to see. And voila, everything is now in front of us that we are going to put on the stock along with the stock. Now, I've done this a few times before to carve out a majority of the stock that needs to be removed so the parts can fit into it rather seamlessly. I do have my wood carver here. I do have a polishing pen over there, and I do have some sandpaper in case I need to remove any excess wood from the stock to make a part fit. Everything needs to be snug, and I will say this as we begin with the lock here, that everything needs to be fit firm, but you don't want to wail on it with like a rubber mallet or something. It should be all pressure from your fingers. So when I place this lock in here, what I mean is pressure by the fingers, is you are going to try to find a way to make sure that everything is snug, like so. Your lock, which I'm assembling right now, is flush, and you can see that it was all by pressure of my finger. Like I said, I have put this together a few times prior to filming this video, so there was some wood that was removed. You can even see little pieces right here. The first thing I did notice about this CVA kit is it is very crude. You can see from the stock and everything that it is crude. So that is step one, getting the lock in place, and make sure when you put the lock in place that the hammer is at a resting position. So since we have the lock in here, the next step is to get the lock secure. And we're just going to put some bolts into this side, the threads are on this side, and you're just going to screw them in. Now, with the kits before that you've seen on SaintAndrewTV, this is the first one you've seen on Beaver's Rendezvous, so if you're tuning into Beaver's Rendezvous and you have no idea who St. Andrew is, welcome. We do a very loose fit because obviously this is going to come apart because this is rough. We are going to take it apart and do the customization part where we blue or brown the barrel and we put some nice stain and clear coat on the stock. But means this is just a rough fit, and I'm just showing you how to assemble this little 45. We are not going to stress ourselves out too much. And there you have it. The lock is now secure inside the stock. Loose fit, obviously, because this is just the preface to what this pistol will become. With that being said, the next step comes with two parts. We have to seat the barrel and we have to put the trigger in. The first part comes with two parts, actually. This is why your hammer needs to be in a resting position, because when you insert the trigger, you want to make sure that it can trip the hammer. That's what makes it shoot, obviously. The other reason is when you insert the barrel right here, the tang that will drop a bolt into, the threads that is going to catch are in the trigger itself. That's how it stays seated when you are firing it. This is where the sandpaper, the wood carver, and the polishing pen are all going to come into play. As I've said earlier, it's very crude, so when you seat this, which is going to be interesting because I'm going to probably have to take out some pieces of wood here. You can see that where we put our nipple right there, and where the hammer is going to come down to ignite that percussion cap is not lined up too well. Now that does pose an issue because it will most likely not fire because you're not going to get a spark off that percussion cap. So what we're going to need to do here is remove a little bit of wood and almost shove the barrel back a little bit. Also because the tang here is not lined up directly with where we're going to seat the trigger. I'm going to polish this up a little bit with a wood carver and some sandpaper, and we'll see if we can get this semicircular piece filled. So before I put the barrel on, I will note that you can see a little dovetail right here, and that is for this little tenon right here. All that is a couple measurements and drilling a hole through the stock to make sure that this can go into the stock, securing the barrel down into the stock even further. Once we get this this tang bolt down in there, that's the only thing securing it. This will ensure that the barrel doesn't come up, because I do know that the tang has a tendency to get loose with time. So that's exactly what this is for. We're not going to do that today. I have nothing to actually drill holes with, nor do I have a metal file to get the dovetail, or I guess the tenon into this little dovetail here. But just note that that is something that you will have to do when assembling a Colonial pistol kit from CVA. I tend to stay away from the metal on metal stuff when I do the rough fitting of these kits, because metal on metal is a lot, and I don't much care to do that more than once if I don't need to. But I just thought I'd throw that out there before we get too far and somebody leaves in the comments and says, oh, you missed the tenon portion of your video. I'm very much aware. Like I said, I don't have anything to file down any metal, nor do I have anything to make exact measurements or drill a hole to tap that tenon into place with the pin. But with that being said, we are going to fit the barrel in and get the tang screw somewhere down to get it in those threads right there. I'm having a lot of difficulty because it seems like in this channel here, there is something uneven. I'm sure once I tap this in a little bit, I'm going to see some rough parts around, but I'm assuming when I take that barrel out with it seated properly, I am going to see what pieces of wood need to come out. Now, you'll see the gap underneath the barrel, and I'm assuming means this is my first pistol kit. That is what the tenon and the pin is for, to ensure that that barrel stays down, or you can fasten it a little bit tighter so everything is a little bit more fit. Let's put the tang screw in here, and it should line up directly with the trigger down here. And all you're going to do is take your standard head screwdriver and send it home. I can even feel, now that I have the tang placed, that the barrel is a little bit loose, so it's really not shooting worthy until you do that portion. And for those of you who have come across the video today, who have put these together, this one is give or take 50 years old, these CVA kits. I think this one's from 1972, so please let me know the easiest way to tap that tenon in there. Like I said, I don't have any power tools on hand. I am a transplant to Arizona, so all the tools that I have are still in Ohio. So at some point, I'll have to have my family ship them out from out there so we can get this thing ready to send some ball through it. And as I say that, speaking of ball, here is your ramrod that you can put in there for a nice little photo, which you'll probably see in the thumbnail. That pretty much sums up the meat and potatoes portion. And now I have a funny story of what I'm about to do next, because believe it or not, this kit did not come with screws to put in the trigger guard. So I had to go find some in the hardware bag that I have, and we're just going to use some Phillips heads to attach the trigger guard. Before I do that, you'll notice that even where the nipple is placed is not perfectly in the that semicircular cutout on the lock there. So there is some work to be done with this, but like I said, this is a very rough fit. This is just showing you how to assemble this. And I am a novice when it comes to these kits, so I'm probably the best person to learn from. So if you're new to it, you don't have to feel like you're out of place when doing one of these, because I'm right there with you. I'm learning just as much as you are right now. For the experts out there, please be a little bit more welcoming than some of the communities out there, because if you want your hobby to grow in popularity, I would suggest that you should be polite to newcomers, because we're not perfect. We're not going to know it all day one. I promise you that. The last thing we are going to do is cock this back just for the aesthetic purposes and place our little nipple in here. For all intents and purposes, we have completed what we set out to do today, and we successfully did a rough fit of our Colonial pistol kit by Connecticut Valley arms. There's a couple things that are going to be fixed, but that's a video for another day. Also, let me know down in the comments, means this is a one-shot pistol. It's a black powder weapon, of course. If there's anything that you can hammer in here so it can be used as a melee weapon, like a metal cap on the end of the stock there. And I don't know, I'm not even entirely sure if that would be period accurate for like the 1780s, 1790s, where you would see something like this. However, that is the end of the video today. My name is Beaver Thomas, and you've just stopped by Beaver's Rendezvous. Like I said earlier, Andrew will be back next week after he serves his time for committing crimes against humanity, or I guess at least in my definition of it. Subscribe or don't, I'm not your father. Keep your powder dry, and I will see you in the next one.